Well, a couple of things that I would like to point out that stood out to me, Jeff, is that while he certainly looked like he stuck to his script and he took a much calmer tone when he was talking about North Korea, and he spent a big chunk, well, most of the speech that went on for longer than 30 minutes, I believe, on North Korea and the Korean Peninsula issue. He did have lines such as, "Do not test us, do not underestimate the U.S. resolve," and also added something like, "We're not seeking confrontation, but we're not going to be blackmailed by North Korea." But here is my favorite soundbite from that speech, basically saying that the concept of one Korea that's free. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Together we dream of a Korea that is free, a peninsula that is safe, and families that are reunited once again. We dream of highways connecting north and south, of cousins embracing cousins, and this nuclear nightmare replaced with the beautiful promise of peace. Until that day comes, we stand strong and alert. Our eyes are fixed to the north and our hearts praying for the day when all Koreans can live in freedom.
And let's make a note of the fact that this comes just a few hours after he basically opened up the possibility of making a deal with North Korea in a press event at the Blue House just last night. And he also said in that press conference with the South Korean leader that he is seeing some, quote, movement when asked about whether there was any progress with North Korea. So I think that would have been the key highlight of his 24-hour stay in South Korea this week. In terms of reaction coming from North Korea, we don't have an official one just yet, but we did have a commentary just over the last couple of hours. It's one of its main newspapers in North Korea, basically slamming his South Korea visit, saying what he did in South Korea aggravated the situation further, and also criticized the South Korean government for going along with it. So no, we didn't really get any sudden change in the attitude coming from the North Korean regime, and certainly it could be an expression of its discomfort given that he spent quite some time criticizing the brutality of the Kim Jong-un regime. Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely, Sherry. But I do wonder, though, if there has been a change in the advice that President Trump's being given. There does at least seem to have been a difference in the tone this time round to what we've heard before. And I wonder to what extent that's been picked up. I mean, where was the Rocket Man phrase? Where was the commentary about heaping down tirades of volcanic lava and so on and so forth on the North Koreans' heads? It just wasn't in the presentation that Donald Trump gave in Seoul. And I do wonder if the president now has been advised to pull back just some of the more aggressive language that he's used so far.
Oh, certainly. During his stay in South Korea, as well as earlier on in Japan this week, there was no mention of fire and fury, no Rocket Man. Although this speech certainly sounded like he was addressing directly to the North Korean leader, Kim Jong-un, and for the bigger picture, to the North Korean people. He was talking about this example of a 9-year-old in North Korea who was imprisoned for a decade because his grandfather was accused of treason. So he took that much calmer tone, like I said, sounding very solemn about the whole brutality and the reality for the North Korean people. And one thing that I also would like to mention is that he used words like light in South Korea, dazzling success for South Korean, and whereas he used the word darkness in North Korea so many times. So I think certainly it almost sounded like he was trying to get to the North Korean people at the same time.